Hey everyone, Chris Carter here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. It's Tuesday, which means we've got Alan Saunders on. We're going to talk about the Steelers. Are they bad at developing quarterbacks? Is that something that should make people hesitate about even expecting anything out of the quarterback position, regardless of whether it's Will Howard or next year's first-round quarterback we expect them to pick? We talk about that, answer a couple questions, and talk about where the Steelers are in the AFC North, all here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things of the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. And as I said before, we're joined by the man himself, Alan Saunders. He's back from SteelersNow.com. We always love having him on. Alan, I want to talk about this thing that I've been running up against a lot lately. I mean, it always gets talked about, but I think it's been talked about more, especially lately. But the idea that the Steelers just cannot, under any circumstance, develop quarterbacks. And it's been put out there because the Steelers, since Ben Roethlisberger, have been searching for their franchise guy. That hasn't emerged, and they've had multiple starters from Mitch Trubisky to Mason Rudolph to Kenny Pickett to Justin Fields to Russell Wilson. And so now they're back to Mason Rudolph, maybe Aaron Rodgers. They've drafted Will Howard. So I ask you, do you think that the Steelers are in a position where, with the coaching staff of Mike Tomlin, Arthur Smith, Tom Arth, the crew that they have in place, have you seen enough to say this is not a group that can develop a quarterback?
No, I don't think we should say that. I also don't think we should say it's a group that definitely can develop a quarterback. I think there's a lot of unknown there. When you look at Arthur Smith's history, we kind of revived Ryan Tannehill's career. That was a washout first-round pick of the Miami Dolphins, gets to Tennessee, wasn't the starter, turned to him and turned his career around. In Atlanta, he took a number of shots with some different guys. None of them really seemed to work out. Taylor Heineke, Desmond Ridder, Marcus Mariota. But, none of those guys are doing any better with anybody else. You can't squeeze water from a rock. It doesn't matter how good you are at developing a quarterback if that quarterback just isn't any good. And I think it's pretty clear at this point that group of quarterbacks that he had in Atlanta weren't any good. Gets Justin Fields in Pittsburgh, and he plays the best quarterback of his career. And so, look, I think there's some reasons for some muted amounts of optimism because of what we saw with Tannehill and what we saw with Fields. But, this is not some offense that I would call quarterback savant looking kind of this is not Kyle Shanahan. This is not even Kevin O'Connell. This is an offense that is more likely to maybe get above average play out of its quarterback because it is taking a lot of the weight off its shoulders. But it doesn't look like an offense that is just going to absolutely maximize the ability of every passer that comes through it.
And see, I'm fine with that. That is because I do think that's the bottom line right now is the Steelers don't have top tier quarterback play. So they're trying to build the offensive line to kind of build up a unit around it, where right now the Steelers could develop it with Caleb Johnson, Jaylen Warren, and the O-line that they've been investing into. They could become a proficient rushing offense. And that might not mean the quarterback's going to be able to light it up. And I think that's fine. But I also think that it's fine that if you develop a quarterback while they're working within that offense to kind of give them that protection there. And again, I don't think this is the quarterback development year. I think this is still the year to get to the point where they're ready to even do that next year. But I'm not going to count this coaching staff out this offense out from being able to do that. I also think, to your point about those Atlanta quarterbacks, how many Steelers quarterbacks have left the organization of late and thrived elsewhere? Kenny Pickett won a Super Bowl with Kenny Pickett won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, but you saw what he looked like when he was there when he came into filling it. It wasn't great. It was the same guy. Mason Rudolph went to the Titans, looked worse with the Titans than he did at any point with the Steelers, and now he's back with the Steelers. I think that there's
Pickett, that wasn't Arthur Smith. That was Canada. Right. I think we can. I have a lot more concerns about that. I think the Steelers did not do their best possible job of developing Kenny Pickett because they saddled him to an offensive coordinator that never had any success at the NFL level, that had literally never developed a quarterback before. Like, that was a bad idea. Arthur Smith, like, I think so many people have, like, just, I don't know, they think they're the same person, and they're not. They're completely different. He's done it before. He's had success at the NFL level. There was lots of reason to think the Steelers with Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator, were never going to be able to develop a quarterback. There's not really any reason to think that with Arthur Smith.
I think that's the same thing. Like, again, like, it wasn't good last year, right? Like, but it was a lot better than what it had. The Steelers finished what, 16th in scoring? That's what we have been saying. If they could just get to that, that at least puts them at a foundation where they can work their way up from there. With under Matt Canada, they were ranked what, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st. They were ranked all in the bottom 5 of the NFL during his time. But with Arthur Smith, he at least gets them to the middle of the pack, and that's where I thought that they could get to with him. Now, with the quarterback position, you know, I think that they're in a position where if they're able to create stability with the O-line, which to me, again, that is the biggest note for this season. This O-line has to be better. It has to be, I think this O-line has to at least get to the above average point. Like, they need to be consistently a good unit that wins more often than it doesn't and creates running space and protects its quarterback and sets a good tone. If they do that, this Steelers team is going to be a lot better place than it has been, I think, than in the last couple of years, as long as, you know, some other things also fall into place. But by doing that, you're going to make the job of the quarterback that much easier. And then, again, you're setting the stage for if you do all the right things and you feel like next year's your chance to go get your franchise quarterback, now you have the stage to get that guy and not have to rely entirely on them, even if you feel like they are the guy. Like Ben Roethlisberger, again, when he came to the Steelers in 2004, they had no line. They had a running game. They had multiple weapons. They had a defense. They had all the pieces around him so that Ben Roethlisberger was able to come in and win his first, 15 straight starts in the NFL. But it didn't rely on him being Superman. He was Superman at times in his rookie season. He had some amazing throws in a couple games where he just lit it up, but he didn't have to do it all the time to win. And that's what I think the Steelers are trying to get to right now. And the notion that because they didn't turn Kenny Pickett into a superstar, and then Mitch Trubisky and these guys that all haven't worked out, the notion that those things happening mean that they can't do it with another guy, I think that that's a little bit much.
I also think we just generally overrate the importance of coaching on player development.
I agree with that.
I mean, like, we all get like Bill Belichick gets a lot of credit for Tom Brady. Bill Belichick's a defensive coach. Like, is he one of the greatest head coaches of all time? Yeah. Is he the one that made Tom Brady great? No. Like it's not the case. Tom Brady just became great. Like, a lot of it is the player. Like, who developed Ben Roethlisberger? I mean, Bruce Arians, good coach, good offensive mind, but like, come on, like what? Like, I just, it's the Jimmies and Joes, man. Like, that's the league. Who's developing Lamar Jackson? I don't know. Nobody. He's awesome. Doesn't matter whose coordinator is. Like, and so the Steelers should absolutely look. I don't think they should think that they're gonna go out here and find the fountain of youth with Aaron Rodgers. I don't think they should think that they're gonna go out here and turn Mason Rudolph into a starting quarterback. I don't think they should think that they're some kind of savant at this, because they're not. But I think they'll be fine if they go out and get a good quarterback in the draft. They'll be able to develop them just fine. I don't think there's any reason for concern there.
And here's the thing: I don't think they should think that they're going to turn. I don't think they do think that they're going to turn Mason Rudolph. No, again, they're trying to get to next year so they can have a shot at getting their guy, whoever their guy is. They probably have multiple guys that they feel like could be the guy. But I'm right with you. I think this is a patience thing. I brought this up because I saw this as a narrative that was brewing, that it doesn't matter who they pick, it's just going to be bad. I feel like that's irresponsible. Now, yeah, have they not gotten it right? Sure, but they also haven't taken a big swing outside of Kenny Pickett being picked at 20th overall, and that was
20. Like, yeah. Have the Steelers had good quarterback play since Ben Roethlisberger's elbow went to pieces? No, but also, like, they haven't even really taken a serious attempt at it.
Right.
Like, one late first round pick and a couple of scrap heap free agents. Like, they've done okay considering what they've tried to do. Now, like, you can fault the strategy. You can say that the Steelers should have gone out in 2020 and gotten a quarterback that year. But like outside of that, like they've kind of done as well as could have been done with what they've spent on the position.
I agree right there. I want to take a quick break. When we come back, we have a call-in question about the Steelers' young quarterback on the roster, Will Howard. I talked about him a bit yesterday. I want to get Alan's thoughts on some things here. Next on the Locked On Steelers podcast, Chris Carter, Alan Saunders. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, remind you, this show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook in America. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live when the action's going on. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Between Anthony Edwards, Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic, SGA, and Jalen Brunson, there are so many stars to give you your best shot at hitting a same-game parlay. And if you're new to FanDuel, you can win $200 in bonus bets if you hit on your first bet of $5 or more. It's a great deal to take advantage of during the NBA playoffs. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, here with Alan Saunders of Steelers.
What's up with my guy Tyrese Halliburton get snubbed in your FanDuel commercial? What's up with that? I want to bet on him. Come on, that's my guy.
I ran out of people. I needed to just get through the show, man. He did impress me in the first round. And them taking game one against the Cavs was pretty impressive. So I'm definitely I don't hate Tyrese Halliburton. He's a fellow light skinned brother. We respect each other.
Beat Cleveland. You get a shout out on the Steelers podcast. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, there you go. You're right. My bad, Tyrese Halliburton and all of Indiana Pacers. But We got. I want to go to the call-in line. We have a lot of calls have been stacking up, but there's one call I wanted to type into here. Before we get to that call, Alan, I want to point out a conversation I had yesterday on this podcast that's still getting a lot of comments about it. People saying that, I just pointed out, hey, I think they need to. I don't think Will Howard is Ben Roethlisberger 2.0 or Josh Allen 2.0 or the next. Just name a superstar quarterback 2.0. I think he's a 6th-round pick that could develop well. As I said before, I thought he should have been a 4th-round pick and he was fine. So I thought the Steelers got great value in him, but. Alan, am I crazy for saying that people putting all their eggs in the basket of Will Howard is the next franchise quarterback might be tripping a little bit here?
Might. Look, it was a 6th-round pick, man.
We like Will Howard. Both Alan and I have been.
I did. The only reason I didn't mock him to the Steelers in the 4th round, I actually had him in there and I took him out because I felt like it wasn't realistic enough because I didn't think he'd be there. I thought somebody else was going to take him. So, I think it's a great draft pick. And it would have been a good pick in the 4th round when they took Jack Sawyer instead. But that don't mean he's the – do you know what the hit rate is on 4th-round quarterbacks?
Yeah, not great.
One Kirk Cousins every 15 years. That's it. That's all you got. I think it was a 4th. But, even if you think he should have been a 4th-round pick, that's it. That's all you got. And so – there's a lot to like about Will Howard.
He was a 4th-rounder. Good call.
There's a lot to like about Will Howard, the prospect. Okay, but just if he plays this year, some bad stuff probably happened.
Right. That's another thing. If Will Howard's on the field, oh Lord, this is definitely he's gonna be better than Devin Hodges was, but some Devin Hodges things had to happen to get him on the field in the first place. And again, I think this is a person who thinks Will Howard was a heck of a good pick. I think that he could be a good prospect in the NFL and can develop into a useful piece for the Steelers. And there is a potential for him to get there, but let's hold our horses before we anoint him. And then everyone's upset when the preseason, when he's not throwing 5 touchdowns a game. So that being said, I want to take to a caller who called in. Michael from Concord, California, called in with this specific question about Will Howard. And I thought it was interesting. Michael, take it away.
Hey, Chris, this is Michael from Concord, California. I got a kind of fun question about the quarterback situation after drafting Will Howard. Do you see any scenario in which we do some packages for Will Howard who's a little more mobile, kind of like how we did for Justin Fields and Russell Wilson? I know Justin Fields a lot more mobile, but, it's just an interesting thought to me. I don't really think it will happen, but it's interesting to think about that idea. I was wondering what you think. Thanks so much. Bye.
That's Michael out of Concord, California. Thank you for calling in, Michael. As always, you can call in with your questions to the Locked On Steelers podcast at 412-223-6644. Leave your name, where you're from. Keep your question under a minute. We'll try to get your question on the show. It doesn't always happen right away, but we try to get your questions in when we can. Alan, I want to get you your first crack at the question there. Should the Steelers be developing a quarterback running package that includes Will Howard because of his mobility? The man can scoot. Like he's not like fast, but the man can scoot.
No.
Dang, not even entertaining. Just get it out of here.
Like, okay, here's the one thing I'll say is that I don't want 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers taking quarterback sneaks.
Agreed.
So if you're going to line up in a quarterback sneak, an obvious quarterback sneak formation, I'm okay with taking him out. But that's not because Will Howard is that. I don't think Will Howard has usable NFL athleticism. He is more athletic than Aaron Rodgers and Mason Rudolph. But
yes.
I don't think he has like he should never ever be running called quarterback run plays like on a regular basis. Like he's not that kind of athlete. If you want to use him as your like designated quarterback sneak guy, okay, but how is he going to be dressed? Like,
right.
If they don't sign Aaron Rodgers, I'm okay with Mason Rudolph taking a quarterback sneak. I mean, he's a big guy. He's strong. He's tough. He can do it. The reason to not have Rodgers do it would be because of his age and to try to, limit the damage and the stress on his body. I'm not so worried about Mason Rudolph taking a couple sneaks. So I don't really see the scenario where it would be useful, but I do think the idea of having something for if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, having something for somebody else to come in and run a sneak, I think is smart thinking. That's about all I got.
Let's see. Listen, when my man Michael was like, I know he's not Justin Fields fast. Okay, do you understand how fast Justin Fields is though? Like it's
wide receiver fast.
Exactly. Like Justin Fields is slash fast. Like when Cordell Stewart took off, he took off. And by the way, it's funny. I posted the clip. So if you missed out on the final word, I had a fun segment on the final word where we had a mystery topic question. And the question was, can you form an anti-Mount Rushmore of Steelers quarterbacks? And so some people went to Devlin Hodges and everyone. I went right to Kent Graham, the worst quarterback I've ever seen play quarterback for the Steelers in my lifetime. And Alan might have some other worse ones. But I just remembered like the difference between him and Cordell Stewart was just so night and day as far as talent-wise. It was ridiculous. And I remember seeing the Raiders game, and you just see Cordell Stewart just effortlessly run past people and make it so easy. Listen, Will Howard is fast enough to take advantage of people. I think he's like Mason Rudolph isn't fast, but he can take off and get yards when need to be. I still remember the Lions game a few years ago when he trucked the snot out of some poor guy who got in his way after like an 18-yard run. He can move. And I think Will Howard's faster than that. But you got to understand that like Justin Fields is a different level of speed. And that's why they planned that package to be part of it, because that different level of speed is good enough to go from a simple quarterback option to, they miscommunicated. That's a touchdown. And Will Howard, I don't think has that kind of NFL speed. I think it was great in college, but in the NFL, not as much. Again, I think if he's in there, that's a different story. You can work or can be part of it, but I don't think his speed is dynamic enough to call for it to be a specific package the Steelers call up now and then. Because let's face it, the Steelers didn't do it that often enough for Justin Fields, and he did have that kind of speed.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted them to use it more with Fields. Yeah, so I don't really think this will happen, but hey, we'll see. I'm interested to see Will Howard at rookie camp this week. I just want to see how he looks on an NFL field. Like I'm not down on the prospect. I just think people's expectations have gotten way out of whack. As far as my like all-time worst Steelers quarterback, at least in my lifetime, I'm going Todd Blackledge. That was pretty bad.
My old man talked about Todd Blackledge because I brought that up to him, and he was like, that was his first pick. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, like Kent Graham is a good choice too, no doubt. But I think I'd go with Todd Blackledge. Yeah, it's not a lot. I mean, there hasn't been a lot. There hasn't been a lot of bad ones. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the only ones I can really think of that really belong in that category. Even Duck, like, I mean, he wasn't good, but like he wasn't. I won. That was 3 or 4 wins. Like, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I know that's a team thing, but like those Graham and Blackledge are the only two I can remember just looking like they didn't belong out there at all, and not having team success. I think that's probably a good answer.
Yeah, so there you have it there. But again, the Will Howard package thing is not saying that we don't think he's good. It's just there's levels to this stuff, and I think that where people should have the right expectations for him. We don't want everyone to come in and think, oh, he's a first round pick. Why isn't he throwing all the touchdowns in training camp? And why isn't he lighting up the preseason? Why isn't he overtaking Mason Rudolph? It's because he's a developmental pick. That's what happens with guys that are in the 6th round, and that's totally fine. It's even a good thing. So again, we'll be done with talking about Will Howard and the quarterback situation, but I want to talk about where the Steelers are in the place of the AFC North. Where the Steelers, we've talked about their draft picks. I want to go over where the Steelers are in comparison to their cohorts in the AFC North: Browns, Bengals, Ravens. What have they been doing to build, and where the Steelers are in that? We'll talk about that next year on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, Alan Saunders, stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, to remind you, we're also sponsored by the Skylight Calendar. Say goodbye to sticky notes, scribbled plans on the fridge, and overlapping calendar invites. The Skylight Calendar is here to bring clarity to the chaos and help families stay organized without the stress. This sleek digital display syncs with your existing calendars, Google, Apple, Outlook, and more, making it simple to track appointments, practices, dinners, and reminders all in one easy-to-see place. How often do plans get missed because they're buried in a digital calendar or not written down at all? Would seeing your whole week clearly on a 15-inch HD screen help you stay focused and less overwhelmed? Right now, Skylight is offering our listeners $30 off their 15-inch calendars by going to skylightcal.com/NFL. That's skylightcal.com/NFL for $30 off your 15-inch calendar. That's skylightcal.com/NFL for Skylight Calendar. Back here in the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm Chris Carter. He's Alan Saunders of SteelersNow.com. Alan, let's talk about where the Steelers are in the AFC North. They finished second last year behind the Ravens, ahead of the Bengals, and ahead of the Browns. The Bengals and Browns, if I was actually interested, the whole division went defense in the first round. The Steelers are the only team to pick with their first 2 picks and to take an offensive player in that mix. The Ravens took Malachi Starks and Mike Green with their first 2 picks. The Bengals, Shamar Stewart and linebacker Demetrius Knight. The Browns, Mason Graham and Carson Schweschinger. Granted, the Browns had the first overall pick that was offensive with their second round pick being Quinshon Judkins. But the Steelers, they didn't have a second round pick. They went Caleb Johnson there. What did you make about the way that the other AFC North teams moved in this draft and where they are versus where the Steelers are right now?
Well, I mean, I think the Browns are a mess. I didn't hate the idea of trading away from Travis Hunter. I thought they are more than one really good player away from doing anything. They're probably going to trade Myles Garrett here in the next year, I would assume, and really attempt to maximize the return on those 2 trades. But even saying that, like even if I approve of their strategy, I think Mason Graham is one of the more overrated players in this draft class. He's a small defensive lineman that doesn't take double teams. It doesn't feel like an AFC North player to me. And Carson Schweschinger is like a tackle collector, which is fine, but he's not going to I think he'll be really good next to JOK. I think that's like a good duo, but he doesn't strike me as like the kind of all pro type inside linebacker that I feel like a pick in that range should be. And Judkins is a great choice for them. But Dylan Gabriel might've been the worst pick of the whole draft.
Oh my God.
Considering what they did after.
I thought he was a 7th round pick. When I saw that name, I was like, am I drunk right now? Like, what is happening?
I mean, you were at Mike's Beer Bar, so there's a chance that the answer to that question was yes. Let's
well, get me in trouble here, Alan.
But they're basically irrelevant when you're talking about 2025. Like, they're just a disaster. I think I'm as interested in anybody else in seeing how that quarterback room plays out, but I don't think they're going to contend for anything. The Bengals, I think, to me, their personnel played so much better before in previous years. They're better. They're capable of being better than they were in 2024. So yeah, they added some pieces to the defense, But I think with the Bengals, it's more about replacing Lou Anarumo as defensive coordinator and how does that go more than what they did in the draft. Baltimore just feels like they did what Baltimore always does, which is load up on super athletic, really talented players in key defensive positions and then not have any wide receivers and sort of be okay with that. I don't know. Just is the Ravens way.
I feel the same way. I feel like I agree with you on the Browns. I think they're a mess. I liked the trade itself, whereas I thought Travis Hunter is a generational player that trading away from him could be dangerous. But when they got to keep a top 5 pick and get a first round pick from a team that might give you another top 10 pick next year, I thought that's great value. Now Mason Graham, have at you what you think about what he's going to be. I'm kind of with you in that I don't think he takes double teams well. I think Kenneth Grant kept him clean a lot at the college level, and that's why I had Kenneth Grant ranked pretty high in this draft class as well. But then I didn't feel Carson Schweschinger, Dylan Gabriel, and then them taking Shedeur Sanders later, fine. That by itself would have been fine, but now you have Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders, and that just looks like a complete mess. So I'm with you on the Browns. I think they are in prime position to hold on to the basement of the AFC North. The Bengals, and I agree with you on the Ravens, because the Ravens are a team that they operate so much like the Steelers in a lot of respects with how they want to build best player available. When they're both clicking those two organizations, there's a reason why they're 1A and 1B most years in the history of the AFC North. But so I look at the Ravens and I think that they're still in position to hold on to the lead of the division. But the Bengals are the interesting case because they have the guy that might be the best quarterback in the division in Joe Burrow. It has the best 1-2 punch at wide receiver in Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And I don't think they did nearly enough to address their problems on defense or their problems with the offensive line. In the 5 years they've had Joe Burrow, they've made the playoffs twice. And particularly because the O-line can't protect him and the defense is mud. And, Shamar Stewart, I think, is a fantastic athlete. But where will he fit? Will he just be an edge rusher to replace Hutchinson because that contract's been messed up? Will Demetrius Knight make their run defense that much better? I don't think those things are gonna pan out right away. And when I look at their depth chart, I still wonder what's going on with them over there. I think that they still have a lot of susceptible guys that are going to get beaten coverage, that are going to not stop the run enough, and not get enough pass rush, and make them a susceptible defense. And their offense, I think, can still put up points with those guys. But if these teams, like you see how the Browns, they've invested in their defensive front, the Steelers are investing in their defensive front, the Ravens are investing in their defensive front, all these teams are going to be coming after Joe Burrow. And their O-line, the biggest thing I think that the Bengals have to hold on to is they have to hope that guys like Amarius Mims really start to come through very soon. Because if they don't, I think they're going to go through a lot of the problems they had last year, and that is not something you want to retread again when you've been paying all this big money to your stars to keep them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really love the draft class. I mean, Shamar Stewart was fine value for where they took him. He's probably better than Joseph Osai if they play him opposite Trey Hendrickson. And it gives them a little bit of protection in case Hendrickson just decides to walk, which they probably feel like they needed. Miles Murphy looks like a whiff, was a first-round pick 2 years ago, hasn't really panned out. They got Cam Sample there, but he's just a part-time guy. So, I get the investment in edge. And then they do go offensive line, after that in the third round, Dylan Fairchild. But, I don't know. I don't really love the Demetrius Knight pick in the second round. Probably not a better player than either Logan Wilson or Jermaine Pratt. How does he get on the field? They also signed Oren Burks at that position. It just feels like overkill. And I didn't think the talent on defense was not the issue. It was the scheme. And I think they should have. Personally, I think they should have doubled down on the scheme fix, solving their defense, and invest more draft capital in the offensive line. But we'll see. Maybe they'll turn out to be right. Maybe some of those guys were washed up, and that's why it wasn't working.
It is very, very early, and I'm going to ask this when we get much closer to the season. But if you were to choose between what's the most likely between the Steelers rising in the division, which I guess would be winning the division, staying put in the division at second place, or dropping in the position of spot, what do you feel is the most likely right now based off of how all the teams have handled the draft and free agency?
I think right now they would be more likely to drop than anything else.
Okay.
But probably not by much in terms of win total. But I can see, here's the thing, I can see the Bengals and the Ravens putting together 11-plus win seasons. I can't see Pittsburgh doing that. I can also see the Bengals doing what they've done way too often with Joe and wasting another year of Joe Burrow. But I think it's probably more likely that the Bengals are better than the Steelers as we stand here right now. Bring me in Aaron Rodgers, and then maybe we'll talk.
Certainly, we will see how that plays out. Still waiting to hear from Aaron Rodgers. Rookie camp is just a few days away.
I want to know who he bet on at the Derby at least. Come on, at least give us that. Like, at least give us something.
Pat McAfee, we're all waiting on you. Come on, man. Make it happen. Anyways, he's Alan Saunders of SteelersNow.com. Alan, thanks so much for joining us. Let people know they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
A_Saunders_PGH on social media. SteelersNow.com is where you can find my written work. I've got a depth chart for the 2025 season up there this morning, or yesterday morning. Go check that out. And you can find my podcast, Steelers Morning Rush and Steelers Afternoon Drive, on the Steelers Now YouTube page or anywhere you find podcasts.
Absolutely. He's Alan Saunders. I'm Chris Carter here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, all the social media, same handle every place, every time, at Carter Critiques. You can read my work in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, post-gazette.com. You can find me here on the Locked On Steelers podcast every day, Monday through Friday, breaking down your Pittsburgh Steelers right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Back here tomorrow, we got Dave Damashek on. It's going to be a fun episode. We'll see you here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.